Hey there, everybody at home. This is Tom Corliss with WDWNT.com. We're live. Well, this won't be broadcast live, but we are recording this at our Orlando studios here on International Drive. We just saw Star Wars Rise of Skywalker at the AMC theaters at Disney Springs. Joining me from WDWNT's Nerd Alert podcast, Joe Hogarty. Say hello into the mic. You have the handheld mic.
Hello.
We're in the middle of remodeling the studio, so things are wacky. Some of us have lavs, some of us have handheld mics. It was a war to get this set up today. And then editor-in-chief of WDWNT.com, she's laughing at her job title.
Please don't remind me.
Jessica Figueroa here as well. We've never done this before. We've never just done a movie review, but we have this studio, and we were thinking about what are the other things we could do with our studio space. And Joe was like, you know, we review the movies on Nerd Alert, but why not a video review? And we'll just go see the movie at Disney Springs, and then right after we see it, come do this. So this was your idea, Joe.
That's right, it was.
So when it bombs horribly, we all get to blame you. Make sure you hold that close. It's a very old-timey microphone. Anyway. So I watch a lot of I watch a lot of movies, so I also on YouTube watch a lot of movie review shows. And you know what I don't like about them?
What?
They do this whole beginning part that's like, well, first we're just going to tell you what we thought of the movie, and then we'll get into spoilers. If you're watching this right now, you're going to go see this movie or you've already seen it. So we're just going to, there's going to be spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, just don't watch this. Joe will have a review out you can read on the website. But we're just going to go off and talk about this movie and everything in it. I think does that seem fair to everybody?
Yeah, it sounds fair.
Sounds about right.
But let's start with what is the verdict? Is it good or bad? Obviously, the critic score is very low. As we just looked moments ago, the audience score is high. It's at like 89, 90%. So what does everybody think?
Ladies first.
Well, whereas, let's say the critic score is at 50 and the popular score is at 88, 90, I'd give it about a 70, you know.
We're rating the movie out of 100. Is that what's happening?
That's how you want to do. Yeah,
Decided
let's follow the critic scale. Yeah, I'd give it about a 70. It's not my favorite. I want to watch it again. But it's not like I don't want to watch it again. I don't think you want to watch it again.
I have a whole thing I have to say before we get to my thoughts on it.
But it's okay. I mean, I guess it's hard to beat. You're topping off a 3-part trilogy, like a trilogy of
That's how trilogies work, yes.
No, but you have...
Oh, you have 3 series,
You know, you have 3 series.
trilogies.
So this is like a big shoes to fill with this movie. You have a crazy fandom that's looking for familiar stuff that can harken back to the old movies, but you're also looking at you also have people coming into this for like relatively new fans to Star Wars. So how did they appease them both? Did they even do a good job at appeasing one over the other? So it's a mixed bag.
I'm glad you said that going in, because I think, I can't speak for everyone, but I think the moral of the story is going to be, you had episode 8, and it seems like the fans were upset. Most fans were upset about episode 8, and so you went the complete opposite direction with episode 9. But does that make a good movie? Does placating everyone in a fandom rather than trying to tell, and George, and this is like a George Lucas thing, this is a thing George would say, I think. I'm trying to tell a story. I'm not necessarily trying to make everyone happy. I'm trying to tell the story that I have in mind. I think that's, yeah. But Joe, what did you think?
I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I mostly like the original trilogy.
It's still Star Wars.
But prequels, a little bit.
You don't like the prequels, but I would still say you're a big Star Wars fan.
All right, if you want to label me that, I'll take that.
Labels.
Joe lives Star Wars. Like, I don't know if I'm a big Star Wars fan. I don't know.
Well, again, like a lot of people will ask me what size shoe does Boba Fett wear, and I couldn't tell you.
Right. But I mean, I don't think anyone here could tell you that, you know?
No.
There are some people out there that could.
Wow.
I like The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi, I it hasn't aged well for me. I liked it when I first saw it, but there's some things that I'm not crazy about. Like a lot of people have said, the Canto Bite stuff is just.
Yeah, that could
dreadful.
get cut from that movie.
But he said, "Why is there a PSA in the middle of my Star Wars movie?" You know, like,
Yeah.
This one,
Yeah.
it just, I feel like it's the worst of the three. And it's, they tried to course correct The Last Jedi, and they probably shouldn't. I think that once they already decided what they were going to do with The Last Jedi, they should have just followed through. And I don't know, it just feels weird. It feels rushed.
Oh yeah.
Just like in the opening credits, I mean, they're telling you, guess what? The Emperor is alive. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I
What was
laughed
the
out
line?
loud hysterically during the opening. It's the worst crawl of all 9
Oh, yeah.
movies because it's the shortest. It's easily the shortest, I think. And it's basically like, Palpatine's alive! Oh no!
the dead
It's
are
like,
reborn.
what are we
You know,
gonna
the
do?
dead.
And it's very short. It's very much like, oh man, forget about the last movie. We're going back.
Oh, and and Rey's training to be a Jedi.
Rey's she's been fighting people for 2 movies.
They could.
She doesn't have a Yoda.
It felt displaced. All of those scenes, especially at the beginning. I guess because they were
Yeah.
literally spliced in from cut scenes or like heavily edited.
The editing of the movie is not good. I want to say something
We
out in front of
tried.
this. I don't know. I'm not like an angry Star Wars fan. I liked Episode 8. I liked that it was different. I liked that they went in a different direction. I was not mad. I walked out of that movie thinking, oh, this is a really good movie. And then I got home, and as I got home, like the Twitter responses and everything reporting in, people were like, I hate it. It's the worst. What did they do to Luke? And I sat there and I was like, I don't think it's that bad. I don't know what everyone's angry about. Like, I think I go into a Star Wars movie like, where is the story going to go? I don't go into the movie like, they better put Rey and Kylo together or I'm going to be mad. Like, that's not, like, certainly there are things I would want to happen if I wrote the movie, but I didn't write the movie. And certainly you can sit in a theater and be like, oh, I think that makes sense. Oh, that doesn't make sense. But I think with Episode 8, there wasn't a lot of stuff where I went, well, while that's not what I would have written personally, that like it still felt like things that would happen in the progression of the story. So I like to be along for the ride. And Episode 9 just felt like the way I think I've summed it up so far is it's as if Return of the Jedi ended and you gave a child all the Star Wars toys. You gave him all of them. He's got all the places. He's got everything. He's got all the characters. And you're like, all right, now go play and make your own movie. And the kid's just like, there's 1,000 Star Destroyers, and they all have the power of the Death Star, and the Emperor's back, and Rey is the strongest in the galaxy. And it's like, it's as if like a 5-year-old made a Star Wars movie, but like a knowledgeable 5-year-old Star Wars fan made a movie. Like, it makes everybody happy, but along the course of doing so, it is a really poorly put together movie. It's not a good let's talk about the Emperor thing. I love
He's
that
back.
character. It's a great character. When they said he was going to come, Ian McDermott
I
is his name, right?
it during Celebration.
Yeah, when they said he's going to come back, I was like, oh, that'll be a
I'm
cool
so
cameo.
pumped.
Like, that'll be great. And it's not a cameo. The Emperor's alive. And the Emperor apparently has been hiding under a rock with lightning and somehow has built several thousand Star Destroyers with the power of the Death Star and has a cult-like following that lives in an arena in this basement next to his statues and all wear his robe.
And I'm sure someone's going to come out and be like, oh, this and this and that is canon. But I'm sorry, anyone coming into this movie and seeing this, if you haven't like been lurking in the Star Wars forums or something, you're going to be like, it's going to be just a bunch of random people
Yeah.
in an arena.
Like, Episode 4 is absolutely a standalone movie. Like, I don't think it was written with the intention of sequels.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, like, they do a pretty decent job, I think. I think George and everyone did a very decent job of making it feel connected with the next two. Like the next two, there's clearly a direction and like a story that was going to be told. And then obviously the prequels, like he knew he was going to do 3 of them. So there's, whether or not they're good, there's a story. There's an arc that feels natural. And now we have this sequel trilogy where clearly Disney was like, we got to rush to market. And they did a first movie, which I think Force Awakens is great. I know it's kind of a soft reboot.
I like Force
But
Awakens.
it's what you needed after the prequels. You needed to remind people that Star Wars is there and what Star Wars is. And then I liked Last Jedi, but now you were so worried about what happened after Last Jedi that your toy sales went down and all these other things. Not thinking that maybe you were the problem and that maybe you oversaturated the market. Instead, you assume like you've got to course correct.
I think that's a
and
great
fix all
thing.
of this.
That's a great like topic that
These three
that's
movies don't go together.
affected the movie greatly. Like this kind of like revisionist history that they have within their own canon of Star Wars to be able to like appeal to everyone. And in doing so, they like break up so many stories. They make them like all of a sudden, for example, I don't know, like Rose isn't into Finn. You know, it's just now
Yeah.
they're like, oh, it's okay, nothing happened. You know.
He still is a little bit.
Then you
A
have
lot of
like a
revisionist
lot of
history.
like weird contrived feelings now because they don't want to like
It's like JJ's
act-
back and don't worry, babies. Everything's going to be fine.
The problem with this trilogy is they did not have a plan.
Yeah.
It's just Kathleen Kennedy thought we're just going to give it to each individual director, and they're going to come up with their own story, and everything's going to work out.
It doesn't work when you have to tell 3 stories in a row.
Especially with Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a huge franchise, and for them to just risk something crazy like that was
Yeah.
insane. They had Colin Trevorrow was supposed to do this
Yeah.
last movie. They fired him, and then they brought back J.J. Abrams, and he kind of was. In
Well,
a
that's the choice
difficult
I would have
position.
made, but I don't know what happened to him here.
They should have given them more time. I just think that again, this
Yeah.
felt rushed.
I don't think they let him do what he wanted to do.
Well, I don't think
I don't
he
get that
wanted
vibe.
Snoke to die in the second.
No. No, it's clear that Ryan Johnson went and told a story that did not follow where JJ thought things were going to go.
Yeah, and so I mean, what are you going to do? They don't have a big villain like for the final chapter.
Yeah.
So he had to bring
Bring
somebody
back
back from
Palpatine.
the original trilogy.
And I guess his thought all along was there's going to be the redemption of Ben Solo. Like that's going to happen. And so then he can't be the bad guy in the 3rd movie because you have to redeem him.
Well, was there anything that you liked in this movie?
yeah.
There are plenty of. Here's the thing: is like I say, I'm not gonna do what people do with the Last Jedi and be like, I hated the whole thing. I didn't hate the whole thing. It's just not a good movie. It has emotionally, as a fan, it has some emotionally strong moments that I really like. The Han Solo moment with his son, I love that. I think it is a perfect bookend to what happened in 7 and his story so far, and that coming moments after Leia has passed.
All of the Leia moments, I was just
Yeah,
bawling,
like-
they were
and
pretty cool.
Those
the
are
whole
good.
theater was sniffling.
The Lando stuff is fun. The other cameos are fun, other than the Emperor.
See, the Emperor in like the trailers and stuff, I had this idea that he was just gonna be this like omnipresent kind of like
Yeah.
voice, but not that he would physically be there. More like a maybe like in flashback form. But it's like, oh, he's here. Like you said, he's alive.
So do we think? We'll never know. Maybe 20 years from now he'll answer in an interview. So do we think Snoke in the end was just supposed to be the clone of the Emperor and that was going to get
Yes.
revealed eventually, but Ryan Johnson kind of
Isn't
like
that
threw that out of
though?
whack? So
The
like
cloning.
they show Snoke clones in whatever lab the Emperor is in. So we know he made Snoke. And he said something like, I'd make 50. What did he said? Something like, I'll make more of them or whatever.
Well,
I was Snoke. I
again,
don't
it's
remember what he said.
convoluted. We really don't know.
They
what
don't
happens.
tell us, but clearly Snoke was made in a lab.
We're going to have to read a comic book, or we're going to have to read a novel.
Yeah.
Right.
A
You have
novelization in March, and
Yeah.
that should never be. I mean, if you're going to see a movie, you want to know what happens. You're not going to have to wait like 3 months. For the
I think I have
novelization to
enough
come out.
information.
or have to make assumptions, like you said.
Like,
oh,
if I
he
want to
has
know, like,
be
the
a clone.
nerdy intricacies of what happened, which I do as a fan, that's great. I take my mother and father to see this next week. They don't care. Like, oh yeah, that guy was made in a tube by the Emperor.
No.
That's all my mother and father need to know in this movie. So I understand that. But like, I think to me that says like, oh yeah, Snoke was the Emperor, but you killed him. So now I got to do something. I got to come up with something here.
I don't know. I still don't think that it was their plan to bring the Emperor back. I just think
No.
that was damage control.
I think Snoke would have been the Emperor. I think it kind of alluded to that just would have been a thing, that it would have been the clone.
I think Snoke would have been Snoke because I recall them saying that Snoke existed even prior to the prequels.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But now that's not true because it's definitely a clone.
Yeah, they changed it because.
Yeah.
Because the Final Order. Can we talk about the Final Order? I think that's a good.
Well, I think I just went on that rant about like where did they come from? What was wrong with the First Order? We made the First Order real powerful, and then this movie was just like, this movie was like, again, like this retconning, like
Factions
no one liked any of
within.
this new stuff, so what we're gonna do is we're bringing back the old. You don't like Rey piloting the Millennium Falcon? We'll bring back Luke's X-wing. You know,
Yeah.
like it's what don't you guys like? You don't like the First Order because they're not the Empire? We're gonna bring back the Empire. You don't like the new style Star Destroyer? Here's 5,000 old-looking ones.
Yeah.
They came out of the ocean.
I mean, when you talk about his X-wing, I mean, if you're going to get into something nerdy, how does that thing work after being in the water for 30
Well,
Well, how did the
Swampy.
ship in the desert work after being out there for 40
Yeah,
years?
that's true.
They just got it back up and running.
Yeah,
in
just
5
like,
minutes.
hey, it works. Let's
Well,
go.
And also,
I'm going to go outside and
40.
turn on a 57 Chevy and see what happens. It's just been sitting out in the parking lot.
you know, Luke used pieces of the X-wing to build his house on, what is Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, what happened there?
He used a part as a green milk cup. So, you know. The Final Order thing is the biggest part of the movie I have a problem with. Because it just doesn't make sense. You have told the entire world that you didn't have a plan for this trilogy. Like, the second this movie starts, it's very clear, like, we didn't know what to do. We're just bringing the Emperor back so there is a villain that can be beaten in the end. And don't worry, we'll give you everything you want. You want them to kiss, they're going to kiss. You want this, you want that. We already told people we're talking about spoilers right from the beginning. Everything you want, kids, you're going to get. Everything's going to be fine. Old Papa Iger is going to give you what you want.
You don't get a little bit of Jawas, a little bit of
You missed the Ewoks, you missed the Jawas, you missed the two suns over the horizon. I'm going to give it all to you. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Every ship we missed, you haven't seen Y-Wings and A-Wings in a while? Don't worry, we got them.
Oh my god! Hey kids,
They're
I heard
still here.
you guys liked Force Ghosts. Here's 5.
It's like the Steve Buscemi. What movie is that where he's like, hello, fellow
Hello.
kids, or hello, fellow teenagers, and he's
Yeah.
dressed up like a teenager? I feel like that's what Bob Iger did here. He's like, yeah.
Everyone's a Force Ghost. Everyone comes back.
Oh, yeah, speaking of Force Ghosts, I think it was nice to see Mary and Jesus in the movie.
Wow.
Well,
It's a
that-
fair point.
But they did look like it.
That's a
At the end.
moment I like in the movie.
At the
Honestly, like the cameos, all the pandering moments other than the Emperor stuff worked. There was none of them that felt too forced where I was like, like the wedge thing, I was like, oh, this is great. Like
Yeah,
this
that was
is
pretty cool.
this is a great moment. You're closing out, the biggest film series in history. You're doing a lot of callbacks, whatever. It's fine.
I
The-
would have liked to see Ben Solo at the end.
I would have liked to have seen, like, we know he was redeemed, but I would like to know that he's somewhere okay.
Did not die for his sins.
I was hoping we'd see, like, a scene of, like, the Solo family together, like, standing there, and then, like, Luke on the side, like, just nodding at Rey. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, my biggest problem with this movie is I feel like it kind of is a disservice to the original trilogy, with George's vision with Anakin being the chosen one, because he defeated the
Yeah.
Emperor, and now all of a sudden it's like, yeah,
He
he,
didn't do
really
it.
didn't defeat it. Rey defeats the Emperor, and she's just super overpowered. She could probably beat Anakin and Obi-Wan and Luke. with no problem. And I don't know. I think it's just a bad message. If they were going to, again, continue what they were going with The Force Awakens, have her defeat Snoke, but not the Emperor, because that was Vader's villain, and that was. But now it looks like it was all for naught, and it's just.
This trilogy does kill Darth Vader. I mean, obviously he's dead, but I mean, like this trilogy, I feel like in 3 movies went out of its way to like really just make Darth Vader look dumb. Like it just kills a lot of his aura, and yeah, like oh, he didn't get the job done. He wasn't good as a Sith, and then even on the good side, it's like, well, he didn't even kill the Emperor. What did he do? He kept us safe for 30 years. That's it.
And the way that Kylo Ren reacted when he found out that it was the Emperor that was Vader's voice in his head, it's like he didn't even care about
very
no, because
response to be lied to his whole life, you know.
But he was still on that path of like, I'm going to become the most powerful in the galaxy. But then he has like that weird wake-up moment where he's defeated by Rey via cheating, thanks to Leia, where his mother's dead. He finds it out, and then Rey's like, "Too bad,
Stabbed you.
You're dead," and then like saves him, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, what now?"
Yeah, there were a lot of like pitfall moments, and then like, "Oh, just kidding, everything's fine."
A lot of false deaths. C-3PO, not really death, but like memory wipe. Chewbacca, false death.
I think Chewie was bad because that like really played with the like audience's emotions.
But I think it's like J.J. Abrams being like, you know, they killed so many people the last 2 movies. Let's just toy with people. Let's just see how people react in the crowd if we pretend like we're gonna kill these characters.
Do you have a problem with her being called the Skywalker at the end?
No.
I wish she would have embraced the Palpatine.
She's like adopted.
Like you know, I don't know.
Why would she embrace that? Although like her parents seem to be good people, and they had the last name, so why like
reappropriate the name? I don't know.
I don't know. I would have liked to seen Kylo Ren live and her die, because he was really a Skywalker and she wasn't. And if anyone was going to defeat the Emperor, I would have liked to seen him do it.
I think they were afraid that it'd be like, oh yeah, just do bad your whole life and then like turn good at the end, and then it's okay to keep living while the real hero's in the ground.
That's a good point.
I think that's why they chose not to do that.
Or make him live and let them be a couple.
But what does he do? What does she show up with him and like, hey guys, he's good now, and everyone's like, yeah. You killed thousands of us.
His story arc was already like done, like without.
He was redeemed, the same as Darth Vader. Like Luke couldn't bring his father home. Like his father was redeemed. Yeah, his father was redeemed, and then like he's like, you already have, son. You can go. That's the proper ending for Darth Vader, and I think. As much as I don't like the kiss, I think it's the proper ending for Kylo. I think
he could have ended without the kiss.
He's redeemed and he did a good deed, and he's like,
this is. Just worried about the cosplay thing.
No, I think it was an awkward kiss. I think they could have like acted it out better. I don't know. Like I think it was.
Maybe it just was never supposed to happen.
If we were going for.
Maybe it was never supposed to be a thing.
If we're going for fan service, make it count. You know, if you're gonna have them kiss, make it good. Don't make it awkward and then have the guy die.
Why does it have to be a love thing? Why can't they just be 2 people who appreciate each other?
Who kiss?
Well, that was some kiss because he died right after.
No, it was.
Me too.
It was. It was an awkward kiss.
I'm dead inside.
Like she didn't like she kissed him and then like he kind of like did the little smile, but like you still weren't sure if it was consensual. He was like kind of dead.
Then he disappeared.
He just vanished.
He pulled a Luke in a bed.
He crawled out of a hole too.
Huh?
He crawled out of a hole too. He went through a lot.
Sorry, it's late. Yawning. I don't know. But you know what? It's too bad we killed the only character I wanted a cameo from, Admiral Akbar. Admiral Akbar died.
Nope.
We don't have any recollection of
Admiral
Admiral
Akbar. For Admiral Akbar.
Well, he can't have a Force ghost, but why can't Admiral Akbar's son show up and be like upset?
Well, Han Solo could come back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was confused
That's
about.
who should have showed up and talked to Ben Solo was Admiral Akbar.
I was confused. I'm like, is Han Solo is he just showing up? Because he's not like a ghost. He's just, but he's like, is he
Just
just
a memory.
a creation?
He did say that he's a memory in his mind.
In his
but that
mind.
was still kind of
It-
lame.
But it was so.
I
lame.
like that moment.
I
It
mean, I
was-
liked it, but it just didn't make
Him
sense.
throwing the lightsaber into the ocean.
And they didn't like fade him out. No, it was just him.
We
there,
still
like,
don't know
no.
how he got off that ship in the water.
Maybe he swam.
I think it was sea turtles.
Turtles.
Tied him together with human back hair.
Um,
Sailed away.
Human
Let's-
back hair.
Pirates. You know, see Pirates of the Caribbean? Jack Sparrow, they asked him how he got off the island. He said, sea turtles, mate. And tied a whole bunch of them
Hair
together
on
with
my
my
back.
own, with human back hair. And then they find out later it was just like, it was a runner island. So they
Someone
finally
picked them
came by
up.
and he like bartered for
Yeah, it's been
a
a
trip
while.
off the island anyway.
Space pirates. That's like, I thought there was some really good humor in this. Like I got like there was a lot of
C-3PO back.
C-3PO
full effect.
got
Yeah, he was good.
a bunch of really good like lines.
Old
I
school.
think. Yeah. That was really like good. The whole like theater was chuckling. It was like just good lines, very funny.
Yeah, I felt like the humor worked better in this one than The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Last Jedi isn't a very funny movie. A lot of people are dying. Like, things are very, very bad.
Tense.
Yeah. This one, it's so over the top that it never feels so depressing. This one's like,
It's slightly
the First
depressing.
Order's in control, but now there's 10,000 new Star Destroyers from somebody else. And everyone's just like, all right, whatever. There's like 8 of us. We'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
That's
But like, I think the moment where they like were like, forget about Ryan Johnson's movie, please, was the whole thing where we're gonna send Lando and Chewie out to see if we can find help, and because the whole thing at the end of the last one was no one showed up,
right.
and it's like, oh, hope is lost,
Hope.
and so this one they were like, nah, that's stupid. They're gonna bring the whole galaxy with them.
Yeah, it doesn't. make
Everyone's showing up. But honestly, one of my favorite lines in any Star Wars movie ever
Here
is
it
in this
comes.
movie. And it's something like the guys in the last order, final
No,
order,
the final order. they're
whatever
like, oh,
order
like,
it is, I don't know.
Is it the Navy? No, it's
just people. Just people have shown up. Oh, I love that so much. Such a good line. But it's such a nonsense ending. Like, even like, we got to take out this transmitter. Oh, no, the transmitter's on the other ship.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They're still on the ship
All right, now we can blow up these really powerful ships now.
with the horses.
And horses, yeah, we're going to release horses. I don't
don't know
mind
the-
the horse thing. The horse thing was
the whole
fine.
movie was like that too. I mean, them just trying to find the Emperor. And it's like
Yeah.
getting the holocron and then getting the Sith blade.
But you see that all that
Yeah.
gets lost between everything. Like
Yeah, it just was too much. It was like this stupid quest that
then you
you
find
would play
the-
in a video game. You know, like where you would find it in one section, get another key, and open up it. And,
Yeah.
You know, it just didn't. It made it drag, and
Yeah.
it wasn't fluid at all.
Yeah. It's just a weird movie. It feels so much more disjointed than the other 8 movies in the series. It's I think honestly it feels the least like a Star Wars movie of any Star Wars movie ever made. Because it's so disjointed, I just feel like there always was like this narrative ongoing. And even in episode 8, I know people are like, oh, it doesn't, why did he kill Snoke? But it felt like the story was progressing somewhere. And then this one, it's like they were just like, nope, that's not where we were going. We're going to go this way now. And it feels like a fan film. A lot of the time, it just feels like, it doesn't feel like a professionally made movie, even though it definitely has the budget and the star power.
But compared to other, like, say, like, fan movies, like, we compared it at dinner to Rogue One, which is notorious for, like, fan service.
That makes sense,
But yet
though.
the story works. So, like, drawing comparisons.
I don't think the story is the problem with Rogue One. I know a lot of people love Rogue One. I don't. My problem is more the acting. I don't think the actors in it are very good. But that's my thing. But even then, like, as much as I don't like Rogue One, it feels like a competent movie. This thing's all over the place. I don't know what's going. It's just like from the beginning, it doesn't even feel like a Star Wars movie. It feels like a TV show almost, because it opens like, I don't know another Star Wars movie that ever opened with big exposition. Usually you get like this slow build into something, like they're already in the middle of some action. And it opens with this Kylo Ren hunt, and he just shows up and he walks into the place, and the Emperor is like, yes, I'm back, and I've been the guy all along, and I know who she is. And then, like,
It just fades
I
to
expect
black.
Dallas open to start playing. Da, 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 starring Sheev Palpatine. It's like-
Right.
I don't know.
The Emperor from the Hyperspace Hoopla.
Yeah, it kind of is. Oh, yeah, it's like Snig and Oopla think they're going to have this dance-off. Well, I'll teach. It is like it's like some fake emperor has come in and he's like, I got a lot of story exposition. I hope you're all ready.
He needed the LL Cool J hat.
Someone has to kill me and take this throne. I'm tired of this garbage.
Please kill me.
I'm tired of doing this.
Uh,
Someone end this series, please. It's
You know what was
getting
weird?
rough here.
There's a weird part too, like when they fell into that quicksand thing.
Oh, but that's how they found the dagger, though.
But it's just that whole thing was just weird.
Again, it's like the like, oh no, they're all like dead, and it's like, oh, just kidding, they're in
It's
a
like-
cave, silly.
And
Like,
it's like, let's bring
That's
this, like,
what Star
giant
Wars
snake
is, though.
in
Like
there.
when they're in the trash compactor.
oh, but the trash compact, but like,
But like the trash compactor's the thing I know from my childhood. Is like what you're gonna say. You're gonna do like the thing everybody does, where they just want to be fed
the trash
the
compactor.
things they
the
know.
Trash compactor.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny how like I think they preemptively like tried to guess what the criticisms of the movie was going to be, or they like brought in too much of the feedback from other movies. Or,
It's like they just read the YouTube comments on an episode 8 review and then wrote a movie around it.
exactly. So they're like, oh, let's go for the feminist route, but let's not make her too much of a Mary Sue. So it's not that she has these like crazy powers, because if she is a
She brought
descendant,
a man back from the dead.
if she is a descendant of like a powerful Sith, why not? But at the same time, like, oh, let's not make it too
Yeah.
like, let's not make her too powerful. It's a conglomerate. It's not her powers. It's the team.
I
it's
like
everyone.
I
It's all
like
of
that
the
because
Jedi.
that
It's
ties back
all
to
of the
Palpatine's
Sith.
whole thing in the prequels, where it's like there are unnatural powers that the Sith can have, and there was a guy who could create life or bring people back to life, and here it is, like
Sorry.
they've reached that point where these two are so strong in the Force where they do have that ability. I don't dislike that because I feel like it is a connection between all three trilogies. Although obviously now the original trilogy, like the Force powers are at their least powerful because it was made first. And now like then the prequels they did some things like Yoda's jumping all around with a lightsaber and catching electricity. And then in this movie, like the Force choking out put a guy on the ceiling, and the Emperor can
Yeah.
electroshock 5,000 spaceships.
That's a great
and
point. It's very hyperbolic.
But that's
now.
what I
It's
mean, like
just
about like if you gave a kid action figures and they're like the Emperor could do this and this, and then he holds all the ships. He's a guy. Like yeah, he's strong in the Force, but like we've established all that's good for is like you can kill some people and like pick up a spaceship out of the water, and like those kind of things. You can't wipe out like 5,000 people at once.
Yeah.
Unless you execute Order 66. Why didn't he just do that then? Why did he
already
need
did
a bunch of
execute
clone
Order.
troopers if he could have just shot his fingers into the sky?
Well, he didn't have unlimited power then. The two beings.
No, he needed to become emperor, get ugly, and then vanish for 40 years, and then he'd get his
and
unlimited
then
power.
regenerate and
Be hooked to a 200-foot tall
life
apparatus in the
support
sky.
thing.
The Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey ride vehicle he needed to be attached to.
Well, one of the problems, again, the whole script leaked about 3 months ago, and I did happen to read it.
Of course you did.
Is it the
And,
one that was sold on eBay?
No, not that one.
Sold on eBay.
But originally, what they had planned was to see the Jedi during that scene where you hear the voices of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I know you're not crazy about that, but I would have liked to at least
Oh,
seen those characters.
I think the
because,
voices work fine.
like Ahsoka Tano was there.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
know that she was there?
No, but I
No,
like
he
that
hates
it's
Rebels.
subtle.
He
I don't
hates the
hate
Clone Wars.
Rebels.
No, but I'm just saying that like you would like
Yeah.
to see a face associated with. I mean,
I think
instead-
it's too many cameos.
Well,
though.
I think also like people that really aren't as much into Star Wars, they're not gonna know who the hell those people
They
are.
don't need to know though. Like from a story perspective, you hear the voices of all these different Jedi, and you know they're Jedi. Like even if you're not familiar with the series, like Yoda comes in a couple times, so
Yeah,
like
you
everyone
recognize
knows
Yoda.
Yoda. So
Yeah.
like, you know, again, my parents are gonna realize what's going on there. I don't need to stretch it out another 60 seconds so people can clap through a bunch of screen cameos. Like we've had enough cameos. Like just the fact that you're referencing them. I think we're good. I don't think you need to slow down the climax of the movie. I'm okay
Originally,
with that.
It was supposed to be Luke and Leia as Force ghosts, helping Rey,
Oh.
and that would have been fine. I mean, just to see like the two Skywalkers, and then it would
Yeah.
have been nice if we would have seen Anakin Skywalker
Yeah.
Yeah.
defeat the Emperor. I mean, and to just see,
And just to see
His
all
face.
these generations after him, yeah.
because he really messed up Anakin Skywalker's life.
Yeah.
And to see
Yeah.
him come back as a Force ghost, that would have just made him crap his pants.
And that would have like
Yeah.
fulfilled the brought it full circle. 'cause,
Like, look what
you
my
know, Darth
children
Vader
have
had
done,
like that
yeah.
like slight regret, like
My children
know.
have brought balance to the Force. I was not the chosen one. They were.
And then
Kinda
have
thing
the
would be cute.
granddaughter of Palpatine join them. You know, I think that would have been a really good scene.
Yeah, I think it would have been more impactful if like Palpatine like brought to light like I know it's kind of a corny thing, but if he had been like not by my own blood, like if so I feel like that's important to him. Like that kind of guy, he's very obviously very spiritual. He's you know the Lord of the Sith, and he's been practicing for a long time. They seem like very I don't know. They're very it's these long running traditions. I mean, you probably have a lot of strong family. I don't know what the words I'm looking for are here. I think family values like bloodlines and things are important in these things, and so the fact that he didn't really care that was his own bloodline, now a Jedi, like I think he should have been angry. I think he should have been real mad that his blood became a Jedi, and I don't think he was mad enough about that.
yeah, I think he was, but it just wasn't properly portrayed. Like,
Yeah.
But he did the same thing that he did in Jedi. He lied that somebody was going to turn to the dark side, and then he would win.
And he'd lost again.
Yeah, it's just.
He's an idiot. He's a big idiot. Stop hooking yourself up to medications and trying the same thing over again. Do something different. Yeah, and I think like you should have made clear like he was just maybe it should have just been about like instead of him trying to rule the galaxy, maybe instead of like creating these 5,000 spaceships and all the other things, maybe it should have just been about him like getting revenge on the Skywalker family. Like they ruined his reign. So maybe it should have just been about like him trying to take Ben away from his family and ruining the family, and then ultimately hoping Ben would be
Well, that's what
the
they
next-
tried to do with the first two movies. Right?
yeah. And so that's why I don't understand why he undermines that. He just like he becomes instead it's no, I'm emperor. This is still mine, and that's dumb. Like it should just be a revenge story. It doesn't need to be. We've seen his ascent to power again. We don't need to see him try to become ruler of the galaxy again. We've seen that. Just tell me the story of him trying to get back at the Skywalkers. It's a more personal story, but I think it's more interesting than it. It's more believable than this sky full of Star Destroyers that came out of nowhere. We're just supposed to believe a dead man like found the credits and followers and resources to build this fleet and to fill this temple with millions of robed people. Like, I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense. And to develop their own costumes and like just weird little things like
Yeah, and how was
Yeah.
he able to feed them?
I don't understand any of this. Where did they come from? They just appeared. It was the figment of a multi-billion-dollar corporation's imagination. And they just decided, like, how do we fix this? We create another empire. All right, here we go.
Well, it's unfortunate that Carrie Fisher passed away
Yeah.
because it would have been a different movie if she would have survived.
Yeah.
That's true, and I think that's why everyone was crying.
Yeah.
Imagine if she killed the Emperor. I would have
Yeah.
thought that was great.
That would have been really cool.
Because it would have been like, this is for what you did to my family and my son. That would be great. I'd love
and
that.
She would have had that final scene with Ben Solo, too, which we never got.
Like, Rey only finally matters in the story because, like, we found out that Palpatine had her parents killed. So that's the only reason for her to be there now. Like, so basically through 2 movies, we never established a reason for her to be the big hero. And then, like, in this movie, we shoehorned in, like, yep, that's why she has to be the big hero.
But again, I've always been okay with Rey, and
It's a great character.
I was fine with her being a nobody, like in the first 2 movies. But they had to basically, again, course correct because some fans were not happy with it. They wanted her to be a Kenobi. They wanted her to be a Skywalker. So ultimately, they made her a Palpatine.
Which I think at least they tried to do something that people weren't talking about so much.
I don't know. People went pretty crazy about the Dark Side Rey and like all the leaks. It's pretty fun in retrospect.
Well, Dark Side Rey was showed at Expo, so that was like a thing.
It's-
The crowd freaked out.
It's pretty fun to see in retrospect all of like the stuff that was released and how people reacted, and then seeing how it was in the movie. I'm like, oh, that was just like a 2-second scene. It actually wasn't that impactful at all.
Actually, I thought it was longer. I was expecting it to be a lot shorter.
Oh.
So I thought that was kind of a cool scene.
helmet scene of this movie, right? Where Luke,
Scene.
Luke like kills the Vader in the Dagobah swamp.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And his face is in the helmet. It was that thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that made more sense than in The Last Jedi when she saw that miles of lines of duplicate rays.
Yeah.
So at least we got something that was a little bit more exciting.
But the movie's not all like. At least there's moments that you wanted, like Chewbacca getting the medal was cute.
Yeah, I think that was a great.
And a lot of people have good closure, and I'm fine with that. I think the storyline, the choice of the fight to have in this movie was dumb. The fight was established in the last movie. It's the resistance is down to nothing, and they got to come back against this big evil organization, which is now run by this emotionally unstable young Sith. And I think that's the finale. I don't know that the Emperor needed to come back. I think Rey and Kylo should have just had a big battle, and she would have won, and maybe like at that moment he realizes the error of his ways or whatever. Did he need to be redeemed? I don't know if he needed to be redeemed. Like we established in the last movie that he maybe doesn't want to be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad movie outright. I just think as the end all of this whole, they've been billing it as like the end of,
It is.
the end of all. But it, it doesn't really meet those expectations.
Yeah, it's a letdown for it to be the end of the saga.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
And even the trilogy. I mean, it could
Yeah.
have a better ending.
It started strong. I remember sitting in that theater, and I've seen all 3 in the same theater. So, I remember sitting in that theater for Episode 7, and just like the Star Wars logo hits in that crawl, and like the goosebumps and the excitement.
I still get goosebumps.
And I remember but I remembered again even for 8. And then this one, it goes, and I was like, oh, I guess it's starting. And the crowd's much more milder. And I just don't. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, Star Wars is ruined, because I don't think you can ruin it, because like the old movies are there. Like they're there. You can watch those anytime. You don't have to watch the ones you don't like.
Yeah.
I don't watch the ones I don't like. I go back and I watch New Hope, and I was like, oh, I love Star Wars. And that's all there is to it. But like this is just such a deviation from what this trilogy is meant to be. And it's not from an insider point of view. That's going to be from a regular audience point of view. So like people are going to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge here in California, and it's just going to be this big disconnect. There's a large disconnect from what the land is to what this series is now because of this last movie. So like you have Kylo Ren, this is supposed to be a month, like Rise of the Resistance is supposed to be a month before this movie takes place.
Oh.
You have a Kylo Ren without the red busted helmet, and like it's a whole different world a month before where the Emperor is just non-existent, and we're still in this universe where it's the Resistance versus the First Order, but in the end it turns out that's not even the battle. The battle is the Resistance versus the Emperor and his secret army. So, like, you built a $1 billion land that doesn't even showcase whatever the main battle of the whole series was. I don't understand.
They'll have to incorporate that down the line as the movie
But
gets
they can't
because
it takes place in a certain timeline. Like, it takes place between 8 and 9, and that's what's happening between 8 and 9. The problem is when episode 9 starts, it's an entirely different film series. Like, everything has changed. Like, the Emperor just got on the radio, was like, I am here. you have, don't fight with each other. I'm involved now. Fight with me. And it's like, and he hangs up.
Yeah,
Everyone's like, ah, damn it.
What is he, Triumph the Comedy Dog?
I didn't say I could do a good impression of him. This is a good movie for me to poop on. And then he comes in. Bring in my officers with slightly different costumes. I have red stormtroopers, and there are red accents on all of the costumes otherwise.
But the Imperial Guards are mostly the same.
Well, they couldn't have the cards from Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland again. So remember that they look the same.
So how long until we get this new lightsaber in stores?
Oh, I think they kept a lot of stuff secret. So merchandise-wise, they have a lot of stuff to get out into the market now, because so much stuff was just not put out. Although maybe with toy sales down from the last movie, they'll just say forget it.
Well, they do have the yellow kyber crystal at Galaxy's Edge.
They do have the yellow, but I don't know that a blade was yellow. Wasn't it more orange?
No, it was yellow.
Was it?
Or gold.
So maybe they knew. I don't know.
Oh, you mean in the movie?
Yeah.
No, it's meant to be yellow or gold. Or
is
something
it?
Like that, yeah.
Why is it yellow? Because she just found a yellow kyber crystal.
They don't explain that.
Gotta wait for the book.
Gotta wait for the comic book.
Gotta wait for the book.
The
Nick will
book,
tell us about
the
it.
series.
She is a new, I guess, version of Jedi. She's a Skywalker.
But they don't even need them anymore. It's over. Like, that's supposedly a balance has been brought to the Force now, until 30 years from now when they want to bring these people back together.
Well, if this movie makes $1 billion, it's never going to be over.
Is it going to make $1 billion though?
Yeah.
I think it'll make $1 billion.
You think so?
But I don't think it'll beat The Last Jedi. Definitely won't beat The Force Awakens.
And Star Wars isn't dead because, they've shown some competence. The Mandalorian, I think, has been a great series. They're bringing Clone Wars back, which people really love.
Yes.
So there's some things they're doing that I think are really positive. And I didn't dislike 7 and 8. But they've made mistakes. The standalone movies, whatever people think of them, obviously didn't work. They've stopped making them. I just think I would like the movie to not do as well as the others because I think it would send a message internally in the company that they need to be creative again. And this isn't just a Lucasfilm thing. This is a Disney thing. I think the studio has gotten very lazy in the last couple of years. We're doing a lot of remakes. Yeah. And it's like, well, we can just rely on Star Wars. We'll just keep pumping these out. And now it's unknown what's going to happen because they've canceled the sort of spin-off trilogy with the people from Game of Thrones, which was supposed to be, I guess, a prequel thing, like Old Republic, supposedly, if that's what it was.
The Ryan Johnson trilogy.
No, it's gone.
That's gone?
That's gone too, yeah. They're both that got canceled before the other one. So they're not making anything now, as far as I know.
Well,
there are no Star Wars
on
movies.
TV, which they probably should for a little bit.
Like, Star Wars isn't meant to be an every other year movie, though. That's the thing. Like, it's meant to be an event like every couple of years.
Well, they were trying to copy the Marvel formula.
It doesn't work for Star Wars.
No,
I think, and we knew that going in, and then I think it just proved it when they tried to put out a movie every year. Everyone's like, okay.
But the bottom line, though, is that they want to impress their shareholders. And if they can get $1 billion movie every year, that's what they're going to try to do.
But at what cost? What damage do you do to a franchise? And I think it'll be interesting to watch this box office because if it's lower than the last two, then it does say that some damage has been done. And I think the opening of Galaxy's Edge showed that too a little bit, where we expected a lot more people to show up, and it just didn't happen. And sure, Rise of the Resistance is popular now, but the park is still not overcrowded. Like, it just so happens that everyone who's coming to the park that day, which 30,000 people go to Hollywood studios regardless.
Yeah.
If 30,000 people try to ride one ride in a day, it's gonna be bad. Like that's just theme park. So like maybe enough damage has been done where people are kind of like, I'm kind of tired. I just kind of need a break from Star Wars. I need some time to like miss it. I can't miss you if you're never gone. That's.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I could have a little bit of Star Wars every day as long as it's, like you said, creative. Like I leave Galaxy's Edge and I wouldn't mind a trip on Star Tours. Just because it just feels it hits different, as the youth says.
The problem is Star Wars is very limited. And The Mandalorian's good because it breaks out of that and it's able to do like its own thing. But like the main series, I think has just always been very limited. It's like you have Jedi, you have Sith, people are shooting each other, like and it's this, who builds a super weapon, blow up super weapon.
I know, but there's so many lands and characters and like different.
There are, but it doesn't make it different. Like whether it's an
creatures.
Ewok or weird people having a sand celebration or whatever, they're all just. We visited a weird culture.
Yeah.
They do something kind of cute and weird. They're friendly. We move on. Like that's
The
like.
war continues.
Like here's the oppressed planet, the planet of weird happy creatures, and you only have so many, and then the snow planet that no one's on. You only have so many different things you can do. You've proven that, and the Star Wars playbook's just very limited, and that's why it wasn't meant to be a million movie series.
I think, like what you said with The Mandalorian, the success of it, it's been able to unite all the fans. Like the Star Wars fan base has been very divided between the prequels, the original trilogy, and even the new trilogy. But it seems like everybody likes that.
Yeah.
And if you can make all those people happy on TV, you can do it in theaters too. And
So you just got to do something original and creative and have the right people, right?
Yeah,
Just gotta slap Baby Yoda on it.
I mean, I think that Favreau should be more involved in the future of Star Wars because he really did. When you
Seems
think
to
about
get
it, he started Marvel going with Iron Man.
Yeah.
And then he did Jungle Book, which kind of started that whole thing.
Yeah. He's a great mind for this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with maybe like Dave Filoni sitting on his shoulder, maybe that's a good combo. Like maybe those guys should be leading the story trust and taking the reins with where all this is going to go now that the saga is like the main saga is over. Like it's a scary prospect because Star Wars has always been this Skywalker story,
Right.
and that you have closed the book on that. So you have to now go find other things to do, which there are other things to do, but you don't have this main story to feed the fandom. Like this isn't the main thing feeding people into everything else anymore. You need the Mandalorian and these other things to stand on their own and be Star Wars now. Like they have to be the franchise now that the other stuff is gone.
Which again, I think the Mandalorian navigates fairly well. Like it's all just like new storyline, even though it's within the storyline, within like the chronological story, but like it's its own thing. It's like somewhat independent.
Well, because it's the first time in the mainstream they've really broken away from the Jedi Sith thing and did like a bounty hunter thing. But again, like, are there more prongs left, or is that it? Like now, because I feel like Star Wars breaks down in a couple things. It's like Jedi, Sith, smuggler, bounty hunter. And once you've told those four stories, you've never established that there's anything else to this thing. So what else is left after Mandalorian? I don't really know. And you did Solo, so you did kind of smuggler thing.
It's gonna be Kenobi.
You could do like a cantina thing.
Kenobi, sure. I mean, that's going to be a
Cheers,
thing.
with a cantina.
Oh, dude, like you say,
I-
Cheers with the cantina.
What
that'd
I
be great.
want a comedy series based on Star Tours. I want it to just be like Wings. Remember Wings?
Yeah.
But I want it to be like a spaceport. It's just like this incompetent space travel company and just their day-to-day operations. That's what I want. Star Wars can be all those things, though. Why can't it be?
Yeah.
That's what I want at this point. We've done all the serious stuff. I want fun Star Wars. But back to this movie. Do you want to talk about where it ranks for everybody? Like I know we've only seen it once, but
You guys go first.
I could tell you, for me, I would rank it as 7th. Right above my worst is Attack of the Clones, and my second worst would be The Phantom Menace. That's how I see it. I'd have to see it again, but I just don't see it moving up any higher. It just, it was a bit of a letdown. You know what it is? We can play armchair quarterback, and we have preconceived ideas of what we want to be the movie to be, and it just didn't make that, and it was a little bit of a disappointment.
See, but for me, I don't go in with these movies. I don't have like a preconceived thing. I show up and I'm like, well, where's the story gonna go? And instead, it felt like we said before, like reading the YouTube comments on an episode 8 review, and it's like it was like they just, instead of like being all these unexpected things, it was a series of events that fans just told you they wanted. So you just made the movie that people wanted instead of making the movie that finished the story.
The whole script is just responding to each criticism.
Yeah,
and like catering to it, and
yeah,
then in that you lose it.
And I like say what you want about the prequels, and they're not all very good, but at least George was telling the story that he wanted to tell, and I appreciate that. Like whether they're good movies or not, at least the man told the story he wanted to tell, not the story people wanted him to tell. Like I appreciate
really good
that.
Worlds too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prequels.
Yeah. Do you want me to go before you?
Yeah, I'm still like
thinking.
mulling it in.
It is the 8th. For me, it's the 8th one. Phantom Menace is the bottom. I think this is in terms of putting a movie together, the 8th. Does it have more moments I enjoy than a couple more I've put ahead of it? Probably. But I just think the last final order, or whatever they are,
You got it right.
that Emperor, that whole Emperor thing, I think just is in all of the Star Wars saga, feels like the most forced thing they've ever done. And it just feels like such a cheap cop-out on a series to just bring him back to life.
Yeah.
And again, to just establish, like, out of thin air, an entire, fleet bigger than the two sides you established have existed over the 40 years, or 30-something years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. You established that over all this time, it took a while, but this radical group of, like, Empire sympathizers and remnants established this First Order, and then members of the Republic decided something had to be done about this, so they made this like covert group called the Resistance. And you're saying in all that time, the Emperor, in the meantime, is under this rock, just like building 400 Star Destroyers that have the power of a Death Star, while the First Order's building one Death Star-like planet? It just doesn't make sense. If you gave this a different premise, a different villain, and keep like those moments we really like, you have something here. But I just think the premise is too far out there. Even for Star Wars, where you've established like the Force is this mythical thing that can be like, you can have ghosts and you can raise things, and you just push so far beyond the rules you've established for the Force already to where it just becomes like a fan film.
Yeah, and it was great to see that Lando got the Rebels and the Resistance together.
I like that.
With that huge fleet. But the question is how? Because previously they tried and no one responded. It just...
I'm okay with that. I like the people thing. They First Order's been oppressing people for the last couple of years.
Everyone's angry at this point. That's just... Yeah.
No, excuse me. We're all going to fight back now, kind of thing. I'm okay with that. My problems are all just, where did the villain come from? It's just out of thin... I've never... Like, a Star Wars trilogy has this build. Like, we left on this great cliffhanger in 7 where Rey shows up and Luke is there. One of the greatest cliffhangers in film history. And then Episode 8 is even, like, very much like, what's going to happen? Like, oh, and it leaves you with this hope, though. You see this kid, this oppressed kid out there has Force powers. Like, even though the Resistance is down, clearly, like, the Force is trying to balance itself. But then, like, we come into this and it's like, no, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah. The movie overall feels like a Star Wars story quality movie. Like, it's not. It's
Feels like an episode of Clone Wars. But one of those
I think
episodes
I've-
that really convolutes the mythos of Star Wars.
I think I've had like more emotional experiences watching Rebels or Clone Wars. But again, it doesn't feel up to par with like one of the trilogy like installments. It feels like its own little side quest
Yeah.
type deal. I don't know how I would rank it, to be honest. It's in its own class.
As not a Star Wars movie.
I actually like the prequels a lot. I like them more than they have any right to be liked. Like, I like Phantom Menace. I like Clone Wars. I like all of them.
Well, like you said, it's a generation thing for you.
I think it's a generational nostalgia thing.
I don't hate 2 and 3. I find a lot of joy in 2 and 3.
I love the original trilogy. I love The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I didn't really like The Last Jedi very much, and I think this kind of like lumps in with that one. I don't know as far as rankings, because I'd have to like shift everything around.
Maybe we should have just ended at 6. Like, maybe the story was over. Maybe Disney should have just been like, hey, let's just do a new trilogy with new characters and a whole new thing, like in a
Maybe.
different time and place.
I don't regret that like The Force Awakens happened. Or
I
is a
know,
thing.
because it was nice to go
And
back
it
to some of that
sparked
stuff.
a whole new
Yeah.
generation of Star Wars fans.
It just didn't go the way it was planned because it wasn't planned. The problem is, like Joe said, the problem is you can't get into a Star Wars trilogy without knowing where it's going to go.
You know what this kind of reminds me of now is the Matrix trilogy.
Oh,
wow.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the animatrix.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is like
It's unfortunate because, again, The Force Awakens.
Because you mean
Well,
like a
it's
really great, you start with
Mhm.
this really great piece, and then the next two just like make it really complicated and convoluted and are just really bad. And I don't even feel that way about The Last Jedi, but it does feel they feel very disconnected from the first one.
And the conclusion is unfulfilling for
Yeah.
the series.
it's a feel good movie. This like
The Emperor
Rise of
getting blown
Skywalker.
away with 2 lightsabers is really not. That's not the way I wanted him to go out.
Unfulfilling.
Him
is good.
falling down a tube was better. I liked him falling down the tube. I don't know, him turning into dust in front of a lightsaber doesn't. I don't know. I did like the
Two
him blowing
lightsabers.
away, like him you saw him like disintegrating.
Disintegrating.
I kind
yeah.
of like that, but I don't know. Like I wish he would have just like struck him with the saber, but
This was weird. I mean, again, like we saw him like with white eyes or no eyes, like in the
like
beginning.
half dead, and then he like
I
And then he
definitely
gets
somehow
the yellow
sucks the
eyes.
life out of
Yeah.
them, but then they're still the
still
same.
alive.
Like
And
he
he's
didn't.
like, oh, the two of you together, now I can take your power. I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
It's just, it's
And
like
I-
they were
Yeah.
writing it as they
We're
were
just
going
gonna make up a
along.
bunch of Star Wars rules now. Yeah.
And it's like, wouldn't this be a good idea now?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
change the story. to
All right,
this.
it's time for the Emperor to look like the Emperor. How are we gonna do it? He's gonna do this, and his hands are gonna come
Yeah,
back.
and I don't think anyone was not. I think everyone was looking forward to the Emperor. I think maybe
Yeah.
anything.
Who doesn't
Maybe
love
I
the
like.
Emperor?
Yeah, I think maybe I just set the bar too. I was way too hyped about it, and then when I saw it, how it was actually executed, I was like,
Yeah.
It would have been great if he was a cliffhanger in The Last Jedi.
Oh
If
yeah.
we heard his laugh. Or
Then it
something
wouldn't
like
have
that.
felt so like
That's what I'm saying,
forced
just
and
some,
dumb.
Like, omnipresent spiritual kind of, but like just seeing
He
him
could
there
even
is-
be alive. I don't even necessarily care. That it just bothers me that not only is he alive, he somehow amassed forces greater than when he pulled off the greatest coup in the history of all living creatures.
Right, he peaked.
Like,
he peaked
yeah.
at Revenge of the
No, what bothers me is he's introduced in the opening credits. It just
Right.
feels so weird.
We don't want to do all this exploratory stuff. It's just going to be like, let's just do the crawl and say
Yeah.
he's here.
Right. When I saw the trailer
Yeah.
for that, which I thought was amazing, like just that scene with Kylo Ren, like, and I thought when I saw the trailer, I was like, that's gonna be like at the end. That's gonna be like one of the climate,
Yeah.
like the pinnacle moments where
No,
like
it's
they
the
find,
opening of
and
the
it just
movie.
opens like that. So I'm like, okay, well, this is happening, you know, and it doesn't. It was too much. It was like, I don't know.
It's a weird film. It's a weird, wacky film.
Worth the second watch, I think. Will you guys be
I
watching
definitely
it
want to
again?
see it again.
Yeah, I'll
Because
probably see it again.
it's
this
hard to
weekend.
process everything that happened.
I'll be watching it again for sure.
I mean,
I
I
don't.
hated The Phantom Menace, and I saw it 5 times in theaters.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
man.
definitely be watching it again. It's not like this isn't the end of this. It is the end, but it isn't the demise of Star Wars or anything. I think it's just not. Everyone had really high expectations for the end of like the
Yeah.
saga.
I don't know. So, like, obviously, if you're watching this, you're not going to, like, not go see it because of what we said. I think you have to go see it for yourself regardless.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's weird that it happened. I can't believe we live in a world where if you had told me when I sat in the theater for episode 7 when that ended, like, what was going to happen in the next 4 years, I would have told you were out of your mind. Like, the Emperor's not coming back. There's a whole new series.
Right.
There's a whole new guy. And, like, to end where it ended, like, it's going to be clear to audiences that nobody knew what they were doing until they were handed each movie. And that's not Star Wars. Like, it's supposed to be a saga. And instead you have 6 pre-planned movies, and then you end with 3 that are just all over the map. Like 3 completely different, disconnected things. It's almost like it's a weird analogy, but Vinylmation. Remember Vinylmation? They're these Mickey figures, but the artist would paint them into whatever they wanted. And it was all the same form, though. So it's like you handed 3 people Vinylmation, and you're like, all right, you're going to make the first one, you're going to make the second one, and you're going to make the third one. And everyone came back with something completely different. And you sat there as Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger and were surprised somehow that everybody made something completely different, even though you put them in separate rooms and didn't let them talk to each other. You were surprised that they all came back with something completely different.
That's no longer a thing?
No.
Wow.
That was another thing Disney, like, peaked, and then they overdid it, and then it tanked. They seem to do this a lot with things. It happens. Believe it or not. Somehow they're the biggest entertainment company in the world despite the nonsensical things they do sometimes. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. Either way, I'm happy it's over. I'm happy like I don't have to worry about where the series is going to go anymore. I'm just like relieved that it's done. Like I don't have to hear people yell anymore that The Last Jedi ruined their lives. Like it's just over. Like we could just put there's closure on, Rey got to kiss him and like everybody got what they wanted, so I can just be happy again and just like Star Wars and not have to hear people that it's ruined and what are they going to do, and I'm just relieved that it's done. That's where I am.
I'm looking forward to other Star Wars content.
Well, yeah,
That,
man, a lot
like,
more
now
Mandalorian,
we
Obi-Wan
can actually explore
series.
different things.
Yeah.
I'm
But now
looking
it's gonna
forward
be
to that.
weird that we're not going to see a Star Wars movie for a long time.
Watch in 2 weeks, there'll be an announcement of another
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, well, we don't know because remember last time we thought we were never going to see another one. That was what 2005, 2006. I don't know what that was.
Well, didn't they say they were taking a break, like maybe 2024?
Yeah.
Will be the
I
next
am
one?
sure we will see another Star Wars movie. I don't know what it will be, and we don't know who will make it. But it's going to be the longest break in a while. But it probably won't be as long of a break as we had between all 3 of these trilogies. I guarantee you it will not be as long of a break as we had between the original and the prequels and the prequels and these.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's for
Agree
sure.
there.
But these characters will likely all be gone. So the saga's over. For record, what is everybody's favorite Star Wars movie in the Skywalker saga? Now that it's over, what's everybody's favorite?
The Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back, that's the one everybody picks usually. What do you?
No.
Revenge of the Sith.
All right. Not my favorite, but I
It's-
like it.
The thing is, I grew up watching the original trilogy, but I was still a kid, so it was all very like strange to me, and Darth Vader, and so actually seeing the whole background of it and seeing how he rose to prominence and became the guy behind the mask,
Yeah, sure.
was fascinating. It's still a great backstory in my opinion, and you have Palpatine. And it's
I love the one thing I really love about the prequels is watching that rise to power. I think George told a good. They weren't good movies, but I think George told a good story of Palpatine. I think it's really interesting how he got to be emperor. I think that tells. It's a well thought out story. It's not well written, and the dialogue's terrible on the way to it. But the story of how he got to power itself is pretty good. I think.
The problem with the prequels, well, one thing that I don't like.
Oh
is
no! I've opened a can of worms now.
There's no Luke, I am your father. In the prequels,
Yeah.
There's no shocking.
Prequels are never a good idea in any series because you already know where it's gonna go.
No, I don't know. For me, it was like it was crazy. Like it's dumb, but it was crazy realizing, like growing up, like oh snap, that's the guy. You know, like having that light bulb moment, and realizing, putting it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, I'm not gonna get into the prequels.
No, we don't have time
Don't
for
get
that.
into prequels.
My favorite still, I wore the VHS out as a kid. Kids look up what a VHS is. Return of the Jedi. That's still my favorite. And a big
It's
part of
great.
it was the Emperor. So I'm sad that I didn't really like him in this movie because I just thought he was such a cool villain. I love, all those lines are so great, and really making Luke fight those inner demons. Like, is he going to stay on the light side? Is he going to go to the dark side? Is he doing what the Emperor wants? Like, and then Darth Vader just looking on and being like, nah, and just throwing him down the tube. I love that. I love all of that. And so, for that to all, and then maybe that's why I don't like this movie, because you undid that. And like you said, like, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker isn't actually a redemption. It's just like a temporary Band-Aid on things because of this. So.
Yeah, the Emperor had the last laugh over Anakin.
Yeah, and then, but at least his granddaughter got back at him at least, right? That's all that
It
matters.
was a strange granddaughter.
Oh, boy. Well, folks, those are our thoughts if anyone actually watched through all of this hatred of the movie.
Don't at me.
There's some fun moments. I like some things. There's some good fan service. But in the end, it's a really disjointed, odd movie. I think that's the takeaway, sadly. I agree with the 50%. I'm half of this movie I love, and the other half I really am not okay with, and that's where I am with it, I think. But yeah, that's what we thought of Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. And thanks for watching. May the Force be with you, always.
Bye.
Execute
That's from the
Order
movie.
66.
Wow, that's what Bob Iger's saying right now. You got to get rid of all these Star Wars people.